You don't expect a place like Costco to be dangerous. I mean, think about it. Bright lights, wide aisles, pallets stacked neatly like the world makes sense. It's the kind of place you go to stock up before a storm, not the kind of place you imagine becoming part of one. But that's usually how these stories start, because the places that feel safest during the day don't feel the same after closing. And they feel even stranger when the power goes out and the storm outside is bad enough that no one's coming to help. What happened that night didn't stay in the news very long. It was written off as weather, timing, confusion. But if you talk to the people who work overnight shifts in Alaska, they'll tell you something else. They'll tell you the building went quiet in a way it never should have. And once that happened, the dark didn't feel empty anymore. It felt occupied. That Costco sat just outside town, where the streetlights stopped and the trees started pressing closer to the road. Beyond the parking lot was nothing but snow, forest, and miles of wilderness that didn't care whether people lived nearby or not. Winter didn't change the hours on the sign. It changed what those hours meant. At 8:30 p.m. sharp, the doors rolled down. The metal shutters echoed through the warehouse, bouncing off concrete and steel like the building was answering itself. The last customer left around 8:40, joking with the door attendant about beating the storm home. Snow was already moving sideways by then, scraping across the lot in thin white sheets. By 9 p.m., the overnight crew clocked in. Not a big team, winter staffing, stockers, maintenance, and one supervisor named Grant. Just enough people to keep the shelves full and the place ready for morning. By 3 a.m., the warehouse was still alive with quiet work. Pallet jacks squeaked softly, shrink wrap snapped and tore, cases thudded into place. A normal night, wrapped in an abnormal storm. The wind hit the building hard enough to make the loading bay doors groan. Snow hammered the roof like fingers drumming too fast. Phones showed weak signal. Radios crackled with nothing useful. Still, everyone worked. Routine does that. It makes you feel like things are under control. At 3:37 a.m., a pallet of bottled water shifted. Nobody touched it. It wasn't much, just a slight angle, like someone had brushed past it. The kind of thing you'd normally ignore. So they did. At 3:41 a.m., the power died. Not a flicker, not a dimming, just gone. 1 second the warehouse glowed under fluorescent light. The next, it was swallowed whole. People shouted, phones came out, flashlights snapped on, cutting narrow tunnels through the dark. Someone said, "Backup should kick in." It didn't. No hum of generators, no emergency lighting, no reassuring systems waking back up. Instead, the building changed. Without power, Costco felt like it exhaled and stopped pretending. The refrigeration units fell silent. The forklift beep died. The fans stopped. Only the storm remained. And something else. A deep metallic groan from the loading bay, like something leaning against the door from the outside. Grant gathered everyone near the front registers, his voice steady even though his flashlight shook a little. "We stay together," he said. "We checked the breakers." Radios were dead, phones barely worked. They moved toward the back hallway, their footsteps loud on concrete. Halfway there, someone stopped short. Snow dusted the floor near the loading bay, and crossing it were footprints. Not boots, bare feet. Wide, heavy, pressed deep into the snow like whatever made them carried a lot more weight than it should have. The toes were wrong, too long, spread too far apart. The prints led inward, then stopped, like the thing that made them had lifted itself up. Nobody said the word bear. Nobody needed to. They heard it then, a slow inhale, followed by a long exhale that fogged the air. Not close, close enough. Someone whispered, "Did you hear that?" No one answered, because they all had. They moved faster after that, heading towards Seasonal to grab supplies, sleeping bags, headlamps, batteries, anything that might help if they were stuck longer than planned. The warehouse felt bigger now. Every aisle opening looked like a mouth. Plastic crinkled too loud. Cardboard tore like gunshots. And then someone shined a light down an aisle and froze. Something stood just beyond the beam. Low, broad, still. It didn't rush. It didn't retreat fast. It just shifted back into the darkness, like it knew it had been seen and decided that was enough for now. That's when the shelves started to shake. Not all at once, just somewhere deep in the building. Then a thud. Then breathing. Deep, controlled, warm. The creature stepped into the light, not charging, not roaring, just standing there, taking up space. It was massive, shoulders like a doorframe, arms hanging too low, fur dark and matted with snow. Its eyes didn't shine like an animal's. They watched. It took one step forward. The concrete thudded. Someone panicked and ran. That was the mistake. The thing didn't chase wildly. It hunted. It cut angles, blocked aisles, used the shelves like walls. There was a scream once, then nothing. No blood, no struggle, just absence. They barricaded themselves inside the produce cooler because it was warmer than the warehouse, and that felt wrong enough to be comforting. Outside the door, something dragged slowly past, circling, waiting. Hours blurred. Cold crept in. When they moved again, it followed above them, along the racks. It dropped down ahead of them, blocking the path like it had planned it that way. And then it made this terrifying guttural sound. Someone started crying. The thing smiled. Not kindly. They climbed toward the roof access, driven by desperation more than hope. The creature climbed faster, like height meant nothing to it. On the roof, the storm howled. Snow erased everything beyond a few feet. The creature stepped out into it like it belonged there, because it did. Grant managed to get partial power back, just enough. The front door lifted. White poured in. He ran. The creature followed him outside and then stopped. It stood there, watching, breath fogging into the storm. Then it turned back toward the wilderness and disappeared into the white like it had never been there at all. By morning, officials blamed the storm. Hypothermia, confusion, poor visibility. No one questioned the bent loading bay door, or the damaged shelving, or the tracks circling the building once before heading into the trees. Because in Alaska, some things are easier not to explain. But people who work overnight shifts still talk. They say that when the power goes out and the building goes quiet in a way it never should, you should listen. Because some sounds don't belong to the store. And winter always comes back. So, if you ever find yourself stocking shelves late at night while the storm outside gets louder and the light suddenly goes out, pay attention to what you hear after, especially the breathing. Good night.